And you've got the two blondes in the house. Yes, I'm Melanie Walker in Johannesburg, and sitting across the world from me at the moment, but right in my studio at the same time, isn't technology fantastic, is Jenni Baxter from sapeople.com. How, you tired? You had to get up early this morning, Jenni. What was that all about?
Oh, my daughter is flying to the Caribbean, and so her flight was at 10 to 5. So I had to get up at 4:30. Not her flight, her Uber was picking up at 10 to 5.
Mm.
I had to get up at 4:30, and then the cats got so excited because they thought it was early breakfast time, so they didn't let me go back to sleep. So I'm really, but you know, last night, Mel, I met a Swedish lady who was absolutely fantastic, and she reminded me of something from South Africa, which is Muniklani.
Muniklani, yes, reg.
I met her, and then she recognized the South African accent, and she said that she was actually married for 15 years to Mr. van Rensburg and lived in Pretoria. So it was like
in Pretoria.
Suddenly she was somebody different. Yeah, and she was really sweet, and she would say, yeah, Muniklani.
Wel, ons kla 'n bietjie hier in Johannesburg. Want jy weet. Yeah, you saw, and like we always say, let's try not to talk about the weather, but I'm sorry, what happened in Johannesburg on Monday really does bear talking about. It was, I have to replace all my gutters. My poor little tomato plants got absolutely annihilated, and I was just looking at them earlier in the day and thinking, oh, look how beautifully my tomato plants are growing. Fortunately, the rest of the garden didn't get annihilated, but I just have sticks left now for my tomatoes, which is so sad. But at least mine wasn't as bad.
Melanie's forgotten to say why all this happened. There was a huge hailstorm.
Hailstorm, yeah, I was going to get into it, okay. My damage was kind of negligible compared to what some people went through. I have a friend in Northcliffe who has a nursery, and the cleanup operation there, I think she's lost like half her stock to all the leaves being completely like decimated.
Yeah.
But the funniest is watching Daniel from the Delta Cafe.
You saw we shared his videos.
Oh my goodness me. Yeah. If you haven't seen the video, it's very funny. And I know Daniel quite well, so for him, you can tell that he is now gatvol, okay? Everything, the devastation. I mean, they had to close the restaurant so that they can fix things up again. But it's very funny. We just decided, well, you've got ice, you may as well drink.
Yeah.
Met ijs, yeah, met ijs.
And what was that he was drinking? Because it was really funny, because people were saying, instead of give that man a bells, which they normally always say, they were saying, give that man a... And then it was the name of that.
He was drinking a single malt. What was it? Glenfiddich or Lafrague. He was drinking a single malt. Okay. We'll give a plug. Maybe it's Lafrague, or will send us a bottle. And then the follow-up to that, I don't know if you've seen it, I think I did send it to you, was him and the cleanup operation where he had the guys on the roof, and he just said he'd been keeping his bottle of tequila nice and cold in the ice that was still on the ground. It was, I mean, you have golf ball size hailstones. It was crazy.
I don't know if you saw, but you know James Delaney, he's a well-known South African artist. He's the one who revived the wilds so that people can actually go walk there now. He let us use some photos that he took, which were just beautiful. And you know, when I looked at them, I just immediately thought it's starting to look a lot like Christmas, because it looks like white snow everywhere in Johannesburg.
It was a snow day. It was a total snow day. And out of the blue, I mean, I was really not expecting that at all. Yeah. I was sitting and working, and the next thing, there's like a clap of thunder, and I get really focused on working. I just sit and like beaver away. And the reason I got a fright is because the lightning struck our house, and it whacked the plug point next to me. I actually had this big spark that came up next to me as well and fried my computer. So
scary.
Yeah, and then I just heard this noise. Can you imagine living in a tin roof, which a lot of the houses in Parkhurst have still got like tin roofs, okay?
Yeah.
That noise of the hail, though. You're sitting there thinking, oh, my car's going to get annihilated.
Well, you know, when we lived in Salt Rock, our house was on top of the hill, so we were often hit by lightning, and you know, and the roof tiles would come off. But the worst was always that it would turn the swimming pool green, just tricks like that.
Lightning does that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really true. Don't swim. Do not swim.
Don't swim in a thunderstorm. You're quite right. Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there we go. The worst hailstorm in
Some people
45
said-
years.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Some people said they've been living there 50 years, and this was the worst in 45.
I seem to remember once before, quite a few years back, where...
I remember one in the 90s.
Yeah, and I had to replace all my gutters, and I'm going to have to do the same thing again. Oh, well. You know, that's life. It's nature.
Mel, I was reading an article in a British newspaper, and they were talking about South Africa, and they happened to say that on the Highveld you get daily thunderstorms, daily summer.
Late afternoon,
thunderstorms. And I remember when I lived in Joburg that there were a lot of thunderstorms and hail and whatever. But is it every single day? I can't remember.
It can be. It rained again, but it was a bit later last night that it rained.
So it's a
not in the
build-up
afternoon.
of the heat all day.
Yeah. But usually we always, I wouldn't say every single day, but the afternoon thunderstorms on the Highveld are legendary.
Yeah.
And
I know
I
they're legendary, but I didn't realize they were as frequent.
I remember a few years back in November, every single day when we were doing the Cycle Challenge Expo out at Kyalami, it would be a daily thing with huge rain. But some days it misses. Maybe they just got rid of all of its water. There we go. Okay, so that's the main story for the moment, with all the people and the cleanup of everything afterwards. What news have you got for expats?
I've got a call, please, to make Christmas for some people. If you go onto SA People and just search for the Paige Project, Paige, they are raising funds. Remember Tim Bierman did that amazing back-to-back 2 Ironman challenges?
Yeah.
Triathlons. They are at 77% of their target now. And honestly, if like 100 expats gave £10 each, it would reach the target, you know. So they really need help. The money goes to these children who have cerebral palsy around the country, who the government does not help, and so their families, can't work. So these families really need help. Please.
Okay.
So. And they did 2 weekends ago. They took a whole load of buggies, which is kind of like wheelchairs, to already help some of them with some of the money that's been raised. So it's really going to a good place. And then other the other news from expats is, have you seen the video going viral? It is on SA People, of a lady with an American accent shouting at a South African guy because his braai was burning at 3 a.m. Did you see that?
No, I haven't seen it.
No.
What's the story about? Why is she shouting at him?
She's yelling because she's saying it's windy and dangerous, and the fire should have been put out. And he's just like really cool, calm and collected, and lady, we've got this under control. And so I did have a question for you, is do we normally leave braais even when we're not there? Because basically it was an unattended braai. That's, but maybe it was just the embers and she was worrying for nothing, maybe, I don't know.
I don't know, they kind of burn themselves out.
And don't you normally only go to bed once you know it's out, or do you leave it?
I would always make sure it's out. That's just me.
Well, it sounds like they hadn't. And
it reminds me well of a night on the beach at Sharkers Rock with my brother making a fire for you. He was being so impressed at 3 o'clock in the morning, running up and down the beach, getting driftwood and making this fire.
But we were
that
at
he was
least all awake.
Yes, we were all, well, kind of. Although we maybe shouldn't have been in charge of any kind of fires, but still, we had my brother there. He was looking after everything. But yeah, no, I'd say put it out, make sure it's out, put some water over it, or some sand or whatever.
Okay, good to know. The funniest thing is that the person who put this on TikTok, and it's had over 1.5 million views already, so it's really going crazy, because she is screaming, like, are you nuts? And she's telling them to go to McDonald's instead of having a braai, which, of course, what South African man is going to want to go to McDonald's when he can have a braai?
No.
But the comments have just been brilliant. The guy who uploaded it to TikTok, he said that she was a Karen, And other people have said, was she in the country as the head of the Karen Society, etc., etc. So
what country was it in? Was it here or in America?
No, it was in South Africa.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then she must just leave us to do our own things. Come on. Don't come here and be telling us what to do, yeah.
That's what some Americans said. So some Americans have commented on this TikTok video, and they're like, we only went there for a week's holiday, and we even never get between a South African and their braai.
I love it. No gaan ons braai, is lekker, nee. Okay. What news have you got in from some of the expats around the world?
Well, did you hear about the new law that Indonesia has passed?
No.
So you're not allowed to have any sex before marriage. And that's whether you live in Indonesia or whether you are on holiday in Indonesia. So nobody in Indonesia can have sex. It's only coming into effect in 3 years' time.
How are they going to police that?
I don't know. The tourism board is freaking out because, what tourists are going to want to go there for a romantic holiday. Or just a fun holiday. And Kevin Anderson, not Kevin Anderson. Kevin Anderson is the tennis player.
Yes, he
Kevin
is.
Fraser. Kevin Fraser, the comedian who lives in Australia. So he obviously, Indonesia's so nearby. But he's currently in South Africa doing a tour at the moment. He uploaded a really funny video of, it reminded me of that old saying, a pump's a pump, pal. He was basically saying you can't have this pump law. And so it's very, very, very South African. It's worth watching.
Okay, that's a bizarre one. But anyway, okay, right. Cool.
And then on comedians, Trevor Noah also seems to have got one of the first interviews with Will Smith talking about what happened at the Oscars. So we've got that on the site if you want to find out what Will says about it and what Trevor says, kind of sticking up for. Well, Trevor's friends with both of them, but he just sticks up for humanness and the sum of a human rather than judging a human on a moment in their life. And don't forget, Trevor finishes on Thursday. I think it's this Thursday. Yeah, will be his last show. His last The Daily Show.
Talking about South Africans overseas, I heard on the radio this morning that apparently it has been said that, who's that dimwit? Is it Kanye? Oh no, I better not get the wrong person. But anyway, it's either, I think it's Kanye. Kanye was the one who wants to run for president in America. Hey?
Yes.
Anyway, apparently, Candace Swanepoel.
Yes.
Who's now the face of
South
Yeezy.
African supermodel.
Yeah, she was with not Charlie's Angels. What is it called?
Victoria's
The ones with the
Secret.
wings. Victoria's Secret. There we go. Apparently, they may be a thing.
Really?
Yeah, I heard that this morning. Thanks to
Okay,
Hot
we'll have
1027. Yeah.
We'll have to look out for that.
Yeah, interesting. And I see that a South Africa woman won golf. The component.
in
What is it
Melbourne.
called?
So,
Yeah,
so
what
it
is
was
this thing called?
It's the inaugural both genders Australian Open. So normally you have for the women and for the men, but they all played at the same time.
So it's a bisexual thing.
Really?
Well,
but
that's what we're trying not to say.
but they let me
A new dual gender Australian Open.
That's the word. Dual, not bi. Thank you, Melanie. So it's Ashley, who's won so much before. Ashley Buhai. I don't know how you pronounce her surname. So she won, and she won by one stroke, which is really interesting because in South Africa this weekend was the South African Open.
Yeah.
And the South African won that as well. And he also only won by one stroke. So it was very, Tristan Lawrence. So it was very, very emotional, not knowing till the last minute whether you're going to win or not. And for Tristan, he was in front of his family and friends because when he won last year, it was obviously the pandemic, so there weren't so many people. So this time it was really, really special for him.
I like watching golf, actually. I used to watch a lot of watching of it.
Can't
Like
you
any
start
sports.
playing?
No, I used to play. No, don't want to play. It ruins my good walk. I'd rather have just a good walk, you know. And people get very twitchy on the golf course. Anyhow, we got some good news coming up, though. Of course, the whole thing about Lonely Planet's 30. Now, I must say, I went to Marble last week for dinner.
Yes. Oh, did you? And was the good-looking chef there?
Oh, yeah, he was. He is a very good-looking chef, David Hicks. He is. I know that we chatted about him with Carrie from Carrie's.
Yes.
What's it called now? No, Carrie's, not Carrie's Corner. Carrie's Connoisseurs. Yeah. So, but I decided to be a very
Demure?
keen connoisseur of good-looking men, and he definitely is in that top lot. So
And
what did
he
Lonely
eat
Planet?
there?
What did I eat, or what did he eat?
No, what did you eat?
What did I eat?
Because they do
everything. It's all on a
yeah,
braai,
and they
basically.
do like braais. They do a
Yeah.
braai, but it's a very lani kind of braai or something.
I had
Okay,
the
so
fish,
I read about
the
that.
line fish of the day, which was really, really good.
Oh, lovely.
And then the elderflower cheesecakey kind of dessert, which had little bits of pieces that just tasted so awesome. And it was like sparkly and lemony and oh gosh, it was just elderflower syrup and stuff. Oh, yum, yum.
That's
yum.
like when you go and eat at Jan's restaurants. It just sparks off different parts of your palate. It's just amazing, like fireworks going off. So the reason why I asked you about what did you eat is because Lonely Planet wrote about what you can eat at Marble, and so Lonely Planet has their top 30 guide, and this year they decided to split it up into categories. So it would be, you know, where to go to connect, where to go to escape, whatever. They had all these categories. And one of the categories was eat. And South Africa was selected for that category, which is kind of interesting. You know, they said basically South Africa is already famous for the other stuff, the beautiful beaches, the wildlife. And people need to travel to South Africa for the cuisine.
The food.
And South Africa was the only one where they selected the whole country, whereas with other places it was just a city in Japan or a city in Denmark.
Well, I tell you what, Marble was chock-a-block full.
Oh,
And I think it's chock-a-block full all the time. It is just, a very, very popular place. I mean, he's also got Saint, and he's opening a place in Cape Town next year. He works hard, that guy. Works very, very hard. Yeah. Anyhow, talking about Cape Town, I saw the story about the Cape Townians saving Fynbos.
Yeah,
I wish the
isn't
rest
it
of the country would
beautiful?
get up and save the wild, the grasslands and the wetlands as well.
Well, maybe this story will spark people to look out a bit more, because what happened, it was in Boertesig, where the residents actually noticed, you know, the council kept coming and mowing the fields.
Yeah.
And the residents noticed, actually, it looks like there's some very special fynbos here. And so the council immediately went and investigated. And sure enough, there were rare ones that were going extinct. And they found many species now. So the Boertesig residents have been... And the Boertesig residents then got involved in helping...
And rehabilitating.
Yeah.
So, but that's
hope
a
that
problem. It's a problem up in, I think, everywhere, where they have people who are working for like the parks departments and everything, and they don't know what they're looking at. Like when we came through Delta Park, back to Delta again, where the cosmos comes through in autumn, and they were there, and they came and they were cutting all of the plants down. They were cutting the grass back, and we're like, what are you doing? You're cutting all of the cosmos. So the people literally had no idea, and I've had a few conversations about this with various plants people that I interview for radio show about, you know, the lack of training and the lack of awareness of people when it comes to doing the wrong thing. And, you know, planting trees where you should be actually rehabilitating grasslands. Anyway, let me not get into my gardening trip, you know, we'll never get out of here.
I get it. You know, my grandfather, who you met, you know, in his garden in Epsom, all those little yellow wildflowers would come up in the spring. I forget what the wildflower was called, not cosmos, but whatever it is. No, I don't know. But anyway, he loved them so much, so he didn't mow them until, they died themselves kind of thing. And his neighbor went on TV on some, Mastermind, whatever those TV shows are on the BBC, and actually mentioned that he had a neighbor who he hated because the neighbor wouldn't mow his lawn.
Oh, Lordy, some people in England, I tell you, these old people can get into a whole thing, yeah.
Appreciating beauty.
Okay,
Which is, do you see Jan?
Yeah.
It's about beauty. Because have you seen that little I think it's how do you say it? Veeps? The Veeps building?
Veeps?
I don't know. Yeah, it's in La Motte, and you will have seen it on Facebook. There's this cute little building with all the lavender around it, and everybody who goes there takes photos of this cute little building. And now Jan, the first Michelin star South African chef, has created like a pop-up. So from now for the next 3 or 4 months, you can go and eat there and eat beautiful Jan food. It's sold out within hours, yeah.
I'm sure everybody would want to go there, yeah. Okay, baby hippo raised by rhinos. When were we chatting about this? People were getting confused about rhinos and hippos.
You would have seen the comments on Facebook about that.
Yeah, because they hadn't watched the entire video.
Yes, exactly. Shame. It's a man who comments a lot. Keeps us on the straight and narrow.
My mother always said, rather keep your mouth shut and let people think you're a fool than open it and remove all doubt.
Oh, no, but I think, yeah. Say no more.
Anyway, so if you're going to watch the video, watch the whole video and then you will know the whole story.
Yes. And it's really, really amazing that this little hippo had never seen another hippo, and he didn't like the water. And then finally, when they introduced him to another little hippo, the two just bonded straight away, which is really lucky. And he's now spending the right amount of time in the water, and because it's really dangerous for hippos to not go in the water.
Yes.
For their skin,
Yes.
So,
because they sweat this pink thing which works as basically as a sunscreen. Yeah. Is it funny how hippos have come up? My children were watching Clarkson and the other two. I know it's not called Top Gear, but it was one of those specials that they did when they were in Colombia. And one of the things they had to do was go and find a hippo in Colombia. And they're like, Hammond is going, what are you talking about, finding a hippo? This is not Africa. And he said, no, but there's this whole story. And of course, I told my kids the story before they had told the story online about Escobar, who decided he wanted hippos. And of course, then he was arrested or gunned down or whatever. And the hippos escaped and made a break for freedom. And they started multiplying in the area, so now they're hippos in Colombia.
Anyhow, that's interesting.
Oh yeah, talking about water stuff, the Hailstorms falls. I mean, bad enough watching the Spruit in Johannesburg becoming like completely crazy, breaking its banks and all kinds of things. I mean, Hailstorms sometimes a trickle and sometimes an absolute raging torrent.
Oh, so beautiful. And we were so lucky. A guy, Tunes de Brain, sent us some incredible photos. He actually went and he had a video that went viral, and then for us he went back like a 2-hour drive to take some beautiful photos. So we're so grateful for that, because it's just amazing. It's like you're really witnessing the power of nature and the majesty of nature. It's almost like biblical. It's awesome. And you just said something that I wanted to. I can't remember.
What is this about 21 rules for Hoedspruit? Sorry, having driven there and back again last week, and it was amazing going along the roads. And I have to mention it though, is that it's my daughter says yes, it's known as Limpopo chic. It's the decor chic, yeah. every single house you go past, either that it's being built or it's a kind of like a little tiny place or it's a big house, they've all got these round columns. The whole area, it's like this Limpopo thing. Okay, and I'm
is
fascinated
it like Greek
with it.
columns, Roman columns, those kind of columns?
Yeah. Every single little house is tiny. It can be a tiny little shack house, and they've all got these columns. I'm absolutely fascinated.
Fancy. I once met a lady who grew up on the railway line. You know, her father worked for the railways, and remember they had those tiny little houses next to the railway.
Yes.
And her mother, and they used to get moved a lot, and her mother used to carry a chandelier to every home. Yeah, so I think maybe the columns are similar, to just sort of feel a little more special.
Well, you can't move those around, Jen.
No, you stay.
But it's like the first time I drove back through that area, I was like, okay, this is kind of like weird Groundhog Day. Every single house having these things. Yeah, I find it quite pretty.
And you also saw some rhino.
Yes.
And they looked very close to a fence. What
There
was
were
that all
15
about?
or so. It's actually at a petrol stop. I can't remember the name of the petrol stop on the MN4. And my daughter had said, oh, by the way, because she would shuttle backwards and forwards to camp in Mahlahla. And she said, no, there's this place where there are rhinos. And we're like looking at her and going, yeah, sure. She says, no, honestly, they're like proper rhinos. 15 of them that I could count. So you go in and there's a whole restaurant area and shops and all this kind of thing. And then you can go out to the back and there's this huge field and they've got sable antelope and there's just like so much stuff out there. Zebra in the background and a couple of wildebeest, but 15 rhinos.
And so it's not part of the Kruger, it's just like a private...
It's a rest stop, a garage rest stop on the side of the highway. I was like quite taken aback by that. And of course, when we were there, the Kalahari Christmas trees, as a lot of people like to call, or I like to call them that, because they do look like they've got decorations on them. It's a sickle bush. They were all in full flower, which was just absolutely beautiful.
Oh.
So what are the 21 rules for Hoedspruit?
Okay, so that's remember the lady who took the photos of Tom Cruise because she lives up in Hoedspruit?
Yes.
And the video of Tom Cruise and everything. Well, they have found that a lot of people are either moving to Hoedspruit or going on holiday to Hoedspruit. But I think there are quite a few that are actually moving there now, you know. It's become the place to escape the city. But as happens, you know, people moving abroad do the same. You move abroad to get away from somewhere, or from all countries, not just South Africans, and then you try and make that new place like your old place. So her rules are kind of, this is Hoedspruit, and sort of adapt or go back, stop. But she's written them very funnily.
Oh, okay, I'll have a look at that. I'll show my daughter. I think she's missing Hoedspruit already, shame. Oh.
Yeah, please show her and ask her if she agrees with them. I think she will. I think they're pretty spot on, the rules.
Okay. Now, we had, I'll talk about the stuff I like first. So we were chatting last week to Bongani from the Mzansi Philharmonic Orchestra. So he did say those dates that the Philharmonic will be playing in South Africa.
Yes, so the 15th of December in Johannesburg, 17th in Durban, and the 21st in Cape Town. And I mean, from our interview last week, it sounds like it's going to be phenomenal. Really worth it. Ode to Joy,
Beethoven's Fifth.
Beethoven.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, and then on to the stuff I don't like, because frankly, I didn't know that this band was still going. Smokey are coming out to South Africa again, it appears. They're playing in Pretoria on the 16th. I mean, are they really still going?
You know something that I had never noticed, because then I asked Alexa, sorry, I've got a friend, Alexia. I asked Alexa, no, look, Alexa's just come on now because I'm saying it. I asked her
oh, you're talking about your bot, all right.
Yes. I asked her to play Smokey the other day because I wanted to refresh my memory. And so, have you ever heard the version of Living Next Door to Alice?
Yes.
Have you heard the version where everybody's shouting in the background?
Yes.
Is Alice?
Yes.
I thought, that's just so spot on.
And they were so big here in South Africa for a European band, and pretty much nowhere else. Kind of like the whole Rodriguez thing as well.
Yeah.
No. Okay, so anyway, if you like Smokey, well, you can get along to that. I will be hoping that I will manage to scare up some tickets to go and see Sting next year, because he's also coming out to Pretoria next year.
And
seeing as a Miss
UB40.
Foreigner. Yeah,
UB40 are coming to South Africa next year as well.
Yeah.
With the original singer.
Yes, Ali.
He's back.
Ali Campbell, yeah. Okay. All right. Oh, my gosh. What is this? Meerkat 64 dishes. Real dancing. What?
So on Monday... on Monday...
Meerkats 46... Making meerkat food. What?
No. On Monday, it was a momentous day in space history. It made news around the world with the launch of the construction of the world's largest radio astronomy instrument, which is co-hosted South Africa and Australia. In South Africa, it's out at Carnarvon because it's in the middle of nowhere. So it makes it even easier for them to see space, apparently. The darker the better, etc. And so there was real dancing as part of the celebration, because there's all that dust. So, all the real dancers in the dust.
So what is unreal dancing?
Real. Stop it. You do know the real dancers. REEL.
Sorry, I'm going to keep you going there. Tell me about the meerkats.
Okay, so the dancing is cool, and I'm going to post that video this afternoon. I'd like to see a Melanie Walker light for it. And the meerkat, the meerkat place that already exists, observatory, and it has 64 dishes.
Yeah.
So when they are finished, what they started building on Monday.
So it's nothing to do with food. Okay.
No, they're going to be adding another 133 dishes.
Right.
Yeah. It's big, proud news. But you can go eat at Marble, which is also big, proud news.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so we get on to the entertainment side of things. And thank you so much, Jenny, for giving me a heads up about Donkerbosse. Because I am I can't wait for we've only had the first 3 episodes. Yeah. It kind of reminds me of Mayor of East Town, but in Afrikaans. And having driven through that area last week as well. So I'm seeing these things and thinking, because it's set in Mpumalanga, near Peter's Polokwane. So that was, for me, like looking at that.
I don't know if it's Limpopo, but it's similar.
It's Limpopo and Mpumalanga. I'm never quite sure, because it kind of moves around like that. My bearings get a bit lost sometimes. I am loving Donkerbosse. It is absolutely fantastic.
Me too. It's one of those shows where I'm not even thinking... It's absolutely on an international level. It's it's gripping. The acting is amazing, and it is like a whodunit. Like we have no idea. It's and you want to know the personal stories. For me, I liked Mayor of Easttown, and I know you loved it, but I'm loving this even more, and especially Erica. I'm loving her even more than Kate Winslet.
Yeah,
who won an award for hers.
Yeah.
So so maybe we could ask Erica to come on the show, or if there's another.
I think that would be good. I'm really impressed with it. Well, big ups to those guys. What else have you got on the entertainment front that people can watch from overseas?
Okay, so just to say, Donkerbosse is available in South Africa and overseas on Showmax. There's Blood and Water, which I've told you about before. The last season, it's on Netflix. I have been watching it, but I'm finding it's all just a little complicated now. And remember, I used to love it, but I don't know if there's just been too much time between the seasons. But and then of course in South Africa, if you've got Showmax, you can watch The White Lotus. It's the last. It's the last one this Monday. So. I can't wait.
It's so funny.
and then our other news is that Cassie, is currently representing SA people at the Red Sea International Film Festival. And so we've got a lot of exciting news on that coming up.
Oh, good.
She spoke to Spike Lee, the filmmaker, and he actually has something to do with some South African young up-and-coming filmmakers.
Okay.
And then there's today she's been at an event about a movie that's still in development called Jufro. And it's about a Jewish guy who does a little bit of cultural appropriation to try and attract a particular woman, and it's dark but comedy.
One thing for me with it comes to, I'd hate to use the word cultural appropriation because it's actually beautiful, is that the wonderful Maasai guy on TikTok with his sister, and they dressed up in their typical kind of, African Maasai outfits, and they're doing the whole Bhangra dance thing. So they're doing like the Indian dance moves to Bhangra music and stuff. They're just absolutely beautiful. I'll send you the names in a moment. I can't think of its name right now. Anyhow, all right, we're running out of time, unfortunately. But what have you got coming up on the site next week?
A young South African who is in Geneva and is got his heart set on representing South Africa at the Olympics in 2024 in Paris. And just his remarkable story from King Williamstown to where he is now. Tragedy, but also inspiring.
Oh, fantastic. That sounds good. Coolness. All right, Jen. Well, it's lovely to see you as always, and we will catch up again next week. And, of course, for those of you who have managed to listen to our blathering this long, don't forget you can send across any good stories that you know about as well. Just pop it onto the website or onto Facebook. We'll catch you again next week. Take care.
Awesome. Thank you, Mal. Bye.
Bye.